Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again. We are still on the chemistry edition, and don't forget we are solving like questions regarding WAEC. Yes, in the previous video, I solved questions on how to calculate for concentration of A in mole per dmq and concentration of B in gram per dmq. And the next question we are asked to calculate for the concentration of B in mole per dmq, and that of determine the number of molecules of water of crystallization of the sodium triazocarbonate, hydrated sodium triazocarbonate 4, and hydrochloric acid. Then we are asked to calculate for the hydrochloric chemical reaction, or write the chemical formula for the reaction. Now, in the previous video, you saw how I got the concentration of A in mole per dmq and that of concentration of B in gram per dmq. Well, this video I'm going to be explaining how we can solve for concentration of B in mole per dmq. Now, this is a rough frame. For us to get the concentration of B, we have Ca, we have the Va, we have Ca rather, we have Vb, but we don't know the Cb, and we don't know the Va. For us to know the Va, that is when we are going to carry out our chemistry practical, which is known as titration. Now, we are going to assume this table, and I'm going to teach you with this video how to manipulate your table. You don't necessarily need to carry out the chemistry practical so that you will not waste your time in the exam hall. So the best way is just to manipulate and have your readings, and you can use it to solve. All you need to do is that make sure the value you have for your Va, you must input it when calculating. That's what matters. So how the table is being formed is not necessarily needed. So we are going to manipulate the table here now. Assuming this is our table here, the first thing you are supposed to write before plotting out your table is you must write the volume of pipette used. From the question, we are told that 25.00 cmq was given to us as the volume of the base. So that means that is the volume of the pipette. Then the indicator used is methyl orange. We did not use phenolphthalein. The indicator used is methyl orange. Now we have a rough table here. This is how to sketch as your rough table. We have the final reading, initial reading, and the volume of acid. Now the rough, it is assumed that before carrying out a chemistry or a practical in science, you must always have a rough state, which will neutralize the impurities in the burette or in the pipette. So we are going to assume that in our rough, we have the value of 23.40. Don't forget this table, they must all be in cmq. They must be in cmq. And also take note that they must be in 2 decimal places. So if the rough is 23.4 cmq, so the first titration we carried out, it was 23.50. 23.50. Then we did another titration. We had 24.30. We did another titration. Then we had 23.80. And these are my parameters. These are my parameters. Now, to get my initials, it is assumed that every time I finish my first titration, I always refill my burette down to the point mark 0. So therefore, I will just indicate all this as 0.00. This means that whenever I finish the first titration, I will refill the burette with base again to the point mark 0. So my initial will be 0.0. So after this, I refilled again. It marked this. So I conducted. I had this. I refilled again on that one. They gave me this. So this is it is at this point that we have the indicator. At this point that there was a changes or an observation in the solution. So with this, we can bring this down. We have 23.40. We have 25.23.50. Then we have 24.030. Then we have 23.080. 23.80. So now we have been able to fill up the table. Now we are not making use of the rough. I told you the reason why we don't make use of the rough because it contains some amount of impurities due to little particles of water when you were rinsing or when you were washing your burette and your pipette. So we don't make use of this. So we are going to make use of this. Since we are using 3 tables, that means we are going to make use of three columns. We are going to make use of these 3. If it is 2, you just use 2. All different. So what I need to do, so my average volume of acid used, that which is the VA, is equals to, I'll just pick this 23.50 plus, I'll pick this 24.30 plus, I'll pick this 23.80. Since they are in 3, I will divide by 3. And when I do that, I will have 71.60 divided by 3. And if I solve for that, I'm going to have 23.87. This is the volume of acid that I'll be given. This is my volume of acid, 23.87. So this is now my VA. Since I now know what's my VA, so I know my CA, I've solved my CA to be 0.035 mole per DMQ. Then my CB, I don't know, is what I'm looking for. Then my VA, I've solved for it to become 23.87 cm3. Then my VB was given to us as 25.00 cm3. Then my NA, I show you how I had my NA in the previous video. It was 2. Then my NB was 1. So with that, all I need to do is just to carry out my equation. So in carry out my equation, I have my CA VA is equals to NA over CB VB is equals to NB. So when I cross multiply here, I'm going to have, when this times this, I'm going to have, because we are looking for BA, so I'm going to have CB VB is NA is equals to CA VA NB. So I'll divide both sides, because I'm looking for CB. Divide both sides by VB and NA. VB and NA. If I do that, I'm going to have CB is equals to CA VA NB over N over VA, then NA. So if I divide for that, I'm going to have VB over NA. VB over NA. Now this is now my concentration of the acid, volume of the acid, number of mole of the base, volume of the base, and number of mole of the acid. When I do that, what is my CA? My CA is 0.035 times the volume of acid which I have solved to become 23.87 times the base, which is what, 1, divided by the volume of the base. We have 25 times 2. So if you do that, my CB will give me, this will become, if you multiply all this together, we are going to have 0.83545 divided by what? 25 times 2 is what? 50. And if we divide further, we're going to have concentration of the base to be what? 0.0167 mole per DMQ. And this is how we calculate for question regarding mole per DMQ and gram per DMQ in titration questions. So if you have any questions regarding this topic, please do free to drop your question on the comment box. And don't also forget that in my next video, I'm going to be calculating the question about B1 and B2. And that's how I'll be calculating question about B1 and B2 in my next video. This is Uncle D from D Tutor Home saying it is possible to write chemistry practical WAEC once and you never repeat it if only you know what to do. God bless.